So the third law is to choose a model that works, a church model that works. Dive in on that, and then we'll talk a little bit about 24 to double when you're done with that.
Okay, so this one's so important. One thing is certain. If you grew up in a church, you probably have already experienced the wrong model. And that's a shame. Because there's a thing called formative years. When you're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, you learn how to interact with people. Those are what we call formative years. Well, you have formative years also in your faith and in your understanding of how the church works. And that's whatever church you grew up in. I grew up in a church with a horrible model. They didn't even know they had a model, but they did. It was a traditional model. Let me tell you what the traditional model has done for the American church. There was a time in the early days of America where 80% of Americans went to church on a given weekend. That's amazing, a powerful time of revival. But when my grandfather was alive and preaching, 40%, we had already lost half of our strength in the country. 40%. Even right now, Gallup surveys say 40% because 40% say they go to church. But when you currently do statistics and do attendance, somewhere around 20% today go to church on a given Sunday. Now that went from 80 to 40 to 20, and by the year 2050, it's estimated that 11.6% of Americans will be in church on a given Sunday. So it is, if this were the stock market, people would be jumping off the top of buildings in New York City, okay? Our industry, if I could say it that way, our expanse, our reach in our country is failing, and that's because the way we do church is poor. It's just not done well. And most pastors do what they do because that's the way they always saw it. So you need to start asking. I'm not saying to throw out anything. Don't go home and say, well, we got to change it all. But just ask yourself, why do we do this? Why do we dedicate babies? I asked myself that question, and we totally changed it. We changed how we did it, and I changed how I focused on it. And I explained to our people that dedicating babies would transform our community. And we started doing it in a way that it would, and we explained what it did, but it changed the way we did all that. Why do we have Sunday school? Why do we have small groups? Why do we have church on Sunday night and quarterly fifth Sunday singings and fellowships? Why do we do Christmas plays? Why do you do a summer VBS? Why do you do 3 songs, an offering, a sermon, and a prayer? Why do we greet the way we do? Why do we market the way we do? Or why don't we market at all? Well, all of those things are just, most of that was just handed to you. That's the way it was always done, and that's the way you do it now. And here's what I believe. 99% of the 350,000 churches in America need to change their model. I believe it, and it'd be hard for anyone, Richard, for anyone to argue with me, because the statistics prove that something is wrong. Now, the message never changes, but the methods and the model of ministry must change. Jesus was the biggest change agent the world has ever known. And here's what I've realized. As much as Jesus changed our view of religion and God, we have been gradually creeping back toward Pharisaism. And so you need to back away and say, why are we doing every single thing we're doing? Who are we as a church? Embrace a church-wide vision, and is every single thing we're doing leading us closer to that vision we say we want, or is it causing us to drift farther away from that vision? So there is a model out there for you. You may find it in 24 to double, or there may be another way you may develop your own. But if you're just doing church because the Bible says to do this, and we always did that, that's not a holistic, intentional approach. It's a reactive, traditional approach. We want a focused, intentional approach to ministry. And everybody, just like the vision, everybody knows what our vision is. Everybody also should know what our process is. You can have a purpose statement, but what is your process statement? How do you get the purpose to happen? And that's the thing that is so missing. Richard, our church actually grew without it. Just because we did traditional church better than other churches did it. Mm-hmm. And I was young and energetic, but we reached a ceiling, we reached a wall that we were not going to break through until we started getting intentional about our process and our structure of how to get there.
Well, yeah, and everybody knows with better systems and processes, you can go further, faster, and reach more people. I mean, it's just a fact.
No doubt.
I'm sitting over here trying to play it cool. That analogy about the formative years, and thinking of, Pastor, if you, I don't know. I mean, I'm over here trying to play it cool and act like, yeah, that's, but that is a game changing analogy, Pastor. If you're listening to this and you don't realize that a big part of the way you're doing what you're doing came from somebody else's model of doing it, and they probably didn't think through it that well, man, that's worth going back and just sitting down and going, okay, how much of what we're doing is we're doing it because this is the way we do it? And I love the idea too, Jerry, of you're not saying don't do baby dedication. You're saying baby dedication with a purpose. That everything has everything is a purpose. Everything's leading to the next thing. That's a game changer. Hey, Pastor, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Because you stuck around this long, Jerry and I think you might be a good fit for 24 to Double. 24 to Double is a 24-month whole church discipleship model that Jerry and I have used to coach more than 2,400 churches. And for a limited time, we're going to let you test drive the whole thing for just $7. Pastor, if you're looking for a way to reach people who are far from God, but right outside the doors of your church, Jerry and I would love to be a partner with you in that. So just click the button below to find out more.